Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make a drop-down menu in Figma. Let's get started. First, let's start by making the components of the drop-down menu. So on your keyboard, click on T to add some text. So for example, let's type in option and then click on Shift plus A to add in an auto layout. And then you can also give it a background color if you want. I'm just going to keep it white for now. So make sure that the text inside is set to fill container, so you can find it here in the resizing section. And then duplicate the component by clicking on it and then clicking on Ctrl plus D in Windows or Command D in Mac computers. So duplicate the component twice and then change the background for both two components. So for example, the second component, I'm going to make it, let's say, light pink. And then for the third component, I'm going to make it a darker shade of pink. Next, highlight all three components. And then in this drop-down menu here, click on Create Component Set. Next, change properties by labeling it however you want. I'm just going to label it with type. And then click on this first component and then label it however you want. I'm going to label it with default. And then the second component, I'm going to label as hover. And then the third component, I'm going to label as selected. I'm also going to change the name of this component set. I'm going to rename it as Dropdown Options. Next, click on Prototype right here and then hover over the first component. And then you will see this plus sign. So click on it and then drag this noodle to the second component. And then set the interaction by setting trigger as while hovering, and then set the animation as smart animate. And then you will do the same thing to the second component. So hover over it and then look for the plus icon and then drag the noodle going to the third component. Here, set the interaction again by setting trigger to while pressing and then select smart animate again. So next, click on F on your keyboard to make a frame like this. And then copy the first component by clicking on Ctrl C or Command C and then paste it inside the frame like that. So if you want to see a preview of your work so far, just click on this frame and then on your keyboard click on Shift plus space and then this pop-up will appear. So in the preview, we can see that when we hover over it, it changes into the second component, which is the lighter pink shade. And if I press down on it with my mouse, it will change to the third component, which is the darker pink shade. So now we are done with making the components of our drop-down menu. So let's move on to making the actual drop-down menu. Copy the first component, then paste it here. Resize it however you like and put it in auto layout again by clicking Shift plus A. And under the auto layout section, zero out gap and padding. And then make sure that flow is set to vertical. Next, select on the component itself, which you will know once it turns purple like this. Then duplicate it as many times as you want by clicking on Ctrl D or Command D. You can rename each option however you want. I'll just rename it as options 1 to 5. Click the frame and under the fill section, just change the background color. Then click on Shift plus space to preview your work again. Next, let's make another frame and resize it to the same size as frame 1. So frame 1 is 202 by 35, so let's resize this to 202 by 35. Let's also give it some rounded corners right here. We can also change the stroke. And then let's rename it as a drop-down menu. Next, make it an auto layout again. Then set the width to fix. Let's add a text box by clicking on T and then label it. I'll just label it as select your option. Next, place this frame inside of a wider frame. Then go to prototype and go to interactions. Set the trigger as on click, then set action to open overlay. The overlay will be frame 1. The position will be manual. Then click on the checkbox for background. Next, click on this frame and then we can preview our drop-down menu by clicking on Shift plus space again. And if I click on this, there we have our options, and that is our drop-down menu. Lastly, to close the drop-down menu, highlight all these options, then click on the plus sign here in the interactions. Set the trigger to on click, then action is close overlay. So now just preview it again by clicking on Shift plus space. Click on this frame and click Shift plus space. Then click on this, and so hovering over the options give us that lighter pink shade, and holding down on my mouse gives us that darker pink shade. And then when I let go, it closes the option of the drop-down. And that is how you can make a drop-down menu on Figma. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe for more helpful tutorials.